Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today we're downtown Ann Arbor with the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan Turbo. Now this is an exciting one because we have not even driven the new third generation Tiguan yet. This was new for the 2025 model year, and well now, obviously it is back for 2026, but with a bit of a twist. Volkswagen has upgraded the top trim SEL R-Line model, which is what we have in front of us, with this badge right here. Now, as most of you probably know, the Volkswagen Tiguan already had a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine, but for 2026, this top trim gets a bit of a power bump to 268 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Volkswagen has achieved this by giving it a bigger turbo and some forged internals. So I've been seeing bits and pieces online of people saying that this is a GTI SUV and things like that, but I just think this now has an adequate power level for this size. I mean, this is a compact crossover. It weighs about 4,000 pounds, and having 268 horsepower just makes it so you can merge more comfortably, and it feels like a very appropriate power level for this platform. So today, obviously, we are downtown. It's quite gloomy, and the clock tower is going to be going off here in about 10 minutes, so we'll try and make this walk around quick. But I want to see what this is like to live with. So we're going to wind our way down the parking structure, go through the city, see what manners are like downtown, and then we'll stop at the store on the way home, and we'll end showing you what performance is like on the test loop. We'll do 0 to 60 and things of that nature. But before we do all of that, let's walk around this and show you this brand new third gen Tiguan, which I quite like in the looks department. And honestly, in my opinion, the Tiguan has always been a good looking SUV. The first gen I liked because it just looked like a lifted Golf. The second gen I thought was very handsome. My old college roommate Katie had a second gen, spent a lot of time in that car. It was fantastic. And now here we are with this one today, finished in avocado green with an amber brown interior. Quite an attractive spec. This is kind of the launch color for the SEL R-Line Turbo, and it just works for me. I always love a good green, and I think the contrast with the black top on this looks quite good. This top trim Tiguan SEL Turbo starts at 43 grand. This one with the avocado green paint and destination and things is just over $45,000. So we'll see what quality is like in this thing today, and we'll see if it's worth it. But let's start poking around this, starting in the back. Where I want to make my first comparison to the Golf GTI. Now, I don't know that you would necessarily be cross-shopping these because most people that have children and want a GTI are just going to buy a GTI. But if for some reason you need the extra space, here it is. This has about double the rear cargo space that you would see in the new Mark 8.5 GTI. And under the floor, we have an spare tire. Check that out. It's just a space saver, but it is there. And you can see their wise use of... Okay, I just thought my camera turned off, but this does a weird thing where you're in the back, it starts beeping at you. I think it's because it automatically closes when you walk away. But anyway, you can see their wise use of space under here. They fitted the amp or whatever that is for the sound system inside the spare wheel. You've got some additional storage underneath, and then you've got these little pockets on either side. These seats fold down very easily as well. You can see this large cavernous interior, lots of space to put things. And that shuts nicely, of course. We'll get these seats folded back up, give you a first look at this amber brown interior, which is quite lovely. We've got a nice kind of like quilted pattern on this as well. And okay, here's the thing, right? Right off the bat, things are already looking good because the door panels match. This has been a thing with Volkswagen for the past few years where some of the quality when it gets to the back seat, it all kind of falls apart. And yes, there are some nicer things on that front door panel, but at least this still has the extended amber brown here. It still has the same trim that it does up front, and it even has a padded little elbow rest. See what sound deadening is like, drowning out this ambulance. Pretty good. And here's your next advantage over a GTI. Again, don't know if you'd be cross-shopping, but if you are, you've got quite a bit more legroom in the back. It's about 6 inches more. And you've got 2 seat back pockets. Check that out. You've got heated rear seats, 2 USB-C ports, and of course a fold-down armrest with some cup holders. But I think the biggest thing back here, the nicest thing, is all this room, especially with this big pano moonroof. I can kind of sit back behind my driving position, which is even in its comfort access at 5'11". It goes forward probably about to where that seat is. And the angle of the back seat is fixed. You can't lean them back like a Mercedes GLS or something like that. But quite adequate room back here. All right, let's talk powertrain a little bit more before we jump out on the road and go for a drive. Now, I told you this still has the 2-liter turbo, the iykyk. They've given it some upgrades. Unlike a GTI, this doesn't have a DSG. This just has a regular 8-speed torque converter automatic. This is 4-motion all-wheel drive, and you can see this engine does sit pretty low down in there. So there you go. It's got an engine cover that's very boring looking, and you can see our turbo there on the back. Quite nice, larger turbo than the standard Tiguan. Now, the only way to get this upgraded powertrain is to opt for the top trim SELR line. I think it would be cool if they offered this upgraded power package in any trim, but I suppose for them actually selling cars, this probably makes the most sense to just keep it in the top trim. But how cool would it be to have a base Tiguan with almost 300 horsepower? That would be pretty cool. For tires today, we have a Pirelli Scorpion. This is, of course, a squared setup in a 255/40 R20. Quite a big wheel, but honestly, they don't really look that big on this. It's so funny for a Tiguan. I remember the first gen was so small, a 20 would have looked massive on it. But here we are with the 20-inch wheel that looks quite at home. All right, let's go ahead and jump in this. It's cold out. Are we beating the clock tower? Yes, we are, by 3 minutes. Check that out. More of this amber brown leather up front, really nice white stitching on this front door panel, and some fake stitching on the top of it here. You've got 3 memory seat settings, all sorts of adjustment, which we'll talk about probably later when we're on the highway. But man, look at this interior. This is obviously completely new from the 2nd gen. I don't think anything is shared. Maybe the steering wheel might look the same, but otherwise totally new. Let's jump in and start this thing up. Where inside the 3rd gen Tiguan, the first thing you notice is this optional 15-inch touchscreen. It's basically like a flat screen TV bolted to the dashboard. It's absolutely massive, but what I will say is that every input makes sense. It all works properly, and this has been a big problem with Volkswagens lately. The interior hasn't really felt well thought out, and this is the first Volkswagen product I've driven in a while where I haven't gotten angry at the technology. Primarily because we have this big volume knob down here in the middle, which is actually usable as many different things, but it defaults to the volume knob, which I like. Secondly, we have actual buttons back on the steering wheel. We don't have those stupid haptic touch things that you would bump while going around corners. These are all now individual buttons. Love to see that. I'm all about multiple ways to do things. I'm all about efficiency, and genuinely this feels like the first time in years that a Volkswagen has a well thought out interior. Now, going beyond this being easy to use and more natural, we also have nice materials. This is apparently actual walnut wood from the US, supposedly. I mean, it looks and feels real. Just got a little bit of it on the dashboard, but I think it adds to the vibes in here with this amber brown leather. And I mean, overall, just everything you touch in here does feel nice. There haven't been any interior rattles. Everything feels just very well put together. I'm very proud of Volkswagen for this interior, and it's really been a breath of fresh air driving this car this week and not being super frustrated with anything. Hazard switch front and center, vent placement makes sense, all of the stuff, and all of the good things that they introduced with the kind of 2020 to 2025 cars do still exist. So you can have all of these different colors on your gauge cluster. I let Emily pick this one, so it's pink and purple right now. But if you want, you can have like the classic Mark IV orange vibe in here, or you can have teal or blue or red or yellow or anything you want. So, I mean, you can set this to as many different colors as you would like. It's excellent. I think it's like 32 different colors or something that it will do. We've got a Harman Kardon sound system in here. That is 12 speakers. This Tiguan is rated at something like 29 mpg on the highway, so lots of good things going for this, and I'm excited to take you guys all out on the road. Center console makes a lot more sense. Shifter has moved up to the column. You guys know I love a good column shifter. 2 cup holders, place to put stuff there. We've got this adjustable armrest that slides forward and opens. You can see I'm storing my hat, but this is just a massive space here where you can store all sorts of things in layers. I've got my phone on this wireless charger. There are 2 other USB-C ports. I mean, Volkswagen really has just done it right, I think, with this new 3rd gen Tiguan. And for 26, it's got the proper power to back it up. So why don't we, should we leave this in pink or should we go Mark IV orange? I guess we can kind of switch it up as we drive along. We'll start in our Mark IV orange vibe. Go to our wireless Apple CarPlay. Of course, this has wireless Android Auto as well. The only thing that still lives in the screen is the climate control, but it's all sort of here on the bottom permanently, and everything works so well. Like, all the inputs are so fast. You can see I can adjust this very fast. You can click auto very fast, and you can adjust your temperature right here on this little haptic panel, which I know still haptic panels, but again, for like the 5th time, nothing's been frustrating. So let's put our seatbelt on. Let's get this out, winded down the parking structure, and onto the road. We'll start in reverse, where you can see we have this 360 cam and reversing cam pull up here. Quality seems pretty nice. Definitely not the best I've seen, but we have leading lines to help you in placing your car precisely. Into drive, which is a push forward on that column shifter. And the first thing you notice, we're going to go around this piece of wood that's still there after many months, don't know why. The first thing you notice is the weight of the steering, which does have a little bit of heft to it. And the one thing I don't love about driving a top trim first or the sporty trim first is I don't know if they're all like this. I don't know if Volkswagen added a little bit of heft to this R-Line trim. If I had to guess, I'd say no. I'd say all the steering is probably the same, because the Tiguan has never really been about like ultra lightness and comfort. It's always kind of been like the sporty crossover. So the ride's always had a little bit of a firmness to it. The steering's had a little bit more weight. But as far as the feel of the steering, I don't mind it. I think for just sort of casual driving, there's a good Volkswagen SUV, an old Touareg. I think for just casual driving and maneuverability, it does the trick. It's pretty quick, so you can get yourself around tight corners like this with no problem. The car is pretty easy to place as well. It doesn't feel ridiculously large. In fact, this weighs actually less than the 2nd gen Tiguan by about 200 pounds, primarily because they've gotten rid of the 3rd row, which was just stupid anyway to have in a Tiguan. The 3rd row seat was completely unusable in my opinion. But now you don't even have an option for it anymore. For the US market anyway. I don't know if other markets still have a 3rd row, but here in the US, we are 2 row only. And I know we've made some comparisons to the GTI already, but I think the biggest advantage, if you are actually cross-shopping the 2, is the ground clearance and the standard all-wheel drive in this. Now, not to say that the GTI is unusable, but with this, you don't even have to think. You can go over speed bumps and up driveways and things, and you don't even have to consider that you're going to scrape the front. It's also at the perfect height to pay at a parking structure.
Please insert your ticket with the barcode.
In fact, it's a little bit high up.
Thank you for your business. Please drive safely.
We do have auto stop start on this, which I actually have not worked out how to turn off. So that might be one thing that's buried somewhere. One thing I do know is that I am absolutely roasting in here right now. We're going to turn this down a bit. Getting this out onto the road finally, I'd love to say that the inputs have all improved from the 2nd gen, but unfortunately, I still have a little bit of that Volkswagen inconsistency with the throttle response, with the brake pedal. Coming up to a stop, I just always find myself kind of having to put a lot of thought into my initial inputs in a Volkswagen, especially a Tiguan. I remember the last 2nd gen I drove was an absolute nightmare. It was front wheel drive and I could not get it to stop spinning its front wheels. This one at least has the 4Motion. It seems a little bit better dialed in, but I'll have some times where you give it what seems like consistent throttle and it's giving you too much. Other times you're trying to pull out into traffic and you feel like you're halfway into the pedal and nothing happens. So it's just a little bit of a weird cadence with this car. You can see auto stop start initiating itself there. Brake pedal feel is okay. The one thing I don't like, and we'll see if I can replicate it in this video, is occasionally when you come up to a stop and you apply even brake pressure, the car will come to a stop, and then a second later, without you moving your foot, it starts creeping forward. So it's a bit unsettling. Obviously, if you're paying attention, you will notice this immediately. But once I've given my brake input, I like the car to stay stopped where I had it. So it's just little things like that where you wonder kind of where that got lost in development. But really, that's where the complaints stop with this car. Genuinely, there's nothing else about this that I don't like. Let our nice injured friend go across the road here. Shoot this gap while we have it. I always manage to choose to drive down here when class is getting out. Okay, well, as we're on a bumpy section, let's talk about ride quality. We touched earlier about how the Tiguan has always been a bit on the firm side, and that does carry over to the third gen. Now, firm is not bad. I don't hate this at all. I don't think it's... Oh, that moped just ran the red light. Okay. I don't hate the firmness at all. I mean, there's a little bit of confidence you get to the firmness, and what I like is that this is not crashy, it's not bouncy, and I think what contributes to the firmness a lot are these 20-inch wheels. I think the suspension tuning itself is fine, it feels right for the platform, but the biggest thing here, and this is actually a really good example, is that I'm able to get through downtown without having to fumble with controls. I mean, everything is where I've left it for the most part. And I can focus on not running a college student over. I don't have to worry about my volume or if I'm bumping buttons on the stupid haptic touch panels on the steering wheel. All is well in my world right now in this Tiguan Turbo, and that is a good thing. The most frustrating part for me is you do have times where you take off and the throttle response is fine, like back there, and it also could just be because I've been driving this now for about 4 days, so I'm learning it, I'm getting used to it, all of its weird little foibles and things. You really have to baby it to get a smooth takeoff. All right, we're gonna shoot this way today. So we touched on this volume knob down here in the middle. Now, if you push the volume knob, it pulls up your drive mode selector, which I actually quite like because it means that this also is not buried in the infotainment screen. And then once you've chosen your drive mode, you can let this chill there for a second. It will then immediately default back to a volume knob. So everything seems to work quite all right in this car. The only thing I found a bit confusing is that if you push down on this, you also have what's called atmospheres. Now, this is a new thing for the third gen Tiguan, where the car sort of goes beyond the drive mode. It's kind of, think like BMW digital art mode, or BMW, what's it called, where the Hans Zimmer thing happens. The atmosphere mode, it changes all of your ambient lighting, it changes some other inputs like the tuning of the sound system. I think it's a little bit useless and just kind of gimmicky, so I haven't really been messing with it, but it was confusing for the first time when I changed the ambient lighting, and it was like, are you sure you want to change this? The ambient lighting is currently being controlled by the atmosphere. And I was like, the atmosphere? What do you, like, within the car or within the world? So it was a bit confusing, but now I understand what it's all about. I've just left it alone. I haven't really touched it. As far as sizing here on this quite narrow 2-lane road, the Tiguan feels at home. Even when we're next to this Expedition Max here, we're going to have to beat this avocado green Jeep Compass here off the line. Maybe we'll go for sport mode. Smooth shifts overall from this 8-speed auto. No complaints there. Sport mode really wakes this thing up, makes that throttle pedal very touchy, defaults the transmission into S mode as well. And then we have, of course, these steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. If you want to change gear yourself, this van is in for a rude awakening right now. Woo! Trying to cut through the construction, that's not going to work. Stick this back into automatic. And we'll put this back into comfort. Just everything is just so much more intuitive here. Even like NVH, bumpy section of road, 45 miles an hour, can whisper. Very quiet cabin. Only slight sounds of leather rustling. Also, obviously, some of you will have noticed the digital gauge cluster. This is pretty much the same as any other modern Volkswagen. You've got, excuse the boo-boo bus coming by us right now, many different ways to view this. Navigation screen, cool. I like kind of this like Golf R style sport display with my rev counter, my speed in the middle. Got my temperatures over on the right, just so we can keep an eye on that. Know when I'm warmed up and I can actually give this some throttle. Love the steering wheel in this car, and especially now that it has real buttons, but I'm just talking design. I think this is a very pretty wheel. It's just about the right thickness. I like the flat bottom of it. This EA888 is pretty quiet when you're just doing normal day-to-day things. I found with the older Tiguans, the second gen, that the engine was a bit grainy. I think having this extra torque and horsepower helps this engine be less stressed in a sense, like day-to-day exercises. You know, you don't have to be revving this out as much because it has the low-down torque. You don't have to be hearing this 2-liter scream as much. So I like that about it, and it just kind of makes the car feel that much more high-end. Adding torque is always good for luxury feeling. All right, we'll get this pulled into the grocery store today. Should we actually park at the grocery section, or should we park at the bookstore? I think we should just park over here today and see what this is like. All right, we're gonna back this into a spot. Quick shift from that column shifter. And quick maneuvering from the steering. And we can precisely place this with that 360 camera. Right up to the curb. Park is a little button on the end, and then you've got a parking brake over here to the right of the volume knob. And your engine start-stop button is a square, which is interesting. I feel like most cars, they have a circle, but Volkswagen says, nope, you get a square button for your engine start-stop. Love these door handles. I think they're in the perfect place to get in and out. I mean, that's kind of just naturally where your hand goes. The doors aren't unreasonably big. I mean, this really is just sort of the perfect size for an SUV. You can see fits in the spot perfectly fine next to this Honda Civic. No problem at all. We are good. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to run in and grab some groceries. Emily and I are doing a bit of a Friendsgiving, so I have to grab some supplies for that. But we'll get back with you once we have food in hand. Walking back up to the Tiguan with 2 bags of groceries today. Spent a little bit more time in the grocery store than usual. Should have some sort of, yes, there we go. Okay, and we have bag hangers back here, which I think will hold these. Got some heavy bananas in this bag. But we'll see if those survive the performance loop. But we're going to take a risk and leave them there. The perfect solution for exactly 2 bags of groceries. All right, let's jump back in with our proxy key. Looks like we may have the enjoyer of this Audi S5 going back to his car as well. Fellow Volkswagen Auto Group friend. As we get this back into my driving position, I think I want to put this back into Emily's desired ambient lighting setting. We'll go back into custom, why not? Sort of like the Mercedes ultramarine vibe that we have going on today. And to drive, parking brake will not automatically disengage. So we've got to do that ourselves. And I'm going to go out this way, actually, because the other way is certain peril. We'll let Mima go across there. You're welcome. I love when people thank you when you're nice to them. Now, again, here is a strong advantage of the Tiguan. This is quite a steep driveway. Down it we go. Doesn't matter. No worry of scraping. Ah, it did the thing. I came to a stop, left my foot exactly where it was on the brake, and it started creeping. I think the solution to this is just giving it a lot of brake pressure as soon as you're stopped, if you can train your mind to do that. Where is the auto stop start? Oh, it's right here. Look at that. It's actually on the screen. It's a very quick access button. Again, everything's right where you left it. Love to see it. If you're going to do a screen, at least do it properly. This seems in proper fashion. And for the first time in this video, as we escape the city, let's get this Tiguan Turbo onto the highway and see how it behaves at a higher rate of speed. Obviously today merging behind a massive truck. It's my special favorite thing to do. That's all right. Many of big truck today. See what kickdown's like. Pretty good. And you know what's cool about this is it didn't have to drop to the lowest gear possible and rev itself to 7,000 RPM. Had plenty of torque to just drop a couple gears, make the pass, less stressed, less grainy, and you feel less destructive as well. But anyway, at highway speed, 73 miles an hour here. I can still whisper. It's very well insulated, this car. Very well put together. I've really taken this Tiguan to the next level. I am a fan of this. And the best thing about being already at speed is that you don't have to deal with the stupid initial throttle response or brake pedal at a stop because you're already in motion. So you forget about all that when you're on the highway and you just enjoy the serenity of this cabin. Driver's seat, very comfortable. I mean, I've had no fatigue this week. You've got lumbar adjust, you've got, oh, there's a button in the middle I've just discovered that's a massage. Oh, and it's got little balls in it like a Brickstone massage chair. Yes. Oh my goodness. The Tiguan continues to impress with genuinely quite a good massaging seat. All right, well, as we switch highways, I'm going to get a song queued up for us to test out this 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. We'll see. I don't know if this locks me out of... If I go to my liked songs, how low can I scroll? Oh, check it out. It doesn't lock me out. Actually, you guys know the best thing about this volume knob is the little volume indicator there, the little logo in the middle, doesn't rotate. you've actually got different settings, which I guess maybe we'll go through some of those right now. So this is in let's sort of like nightclub mode, as you can see right here. You can go into voice mode, which will sound terrible with this sort of music. You've got beach setting, and you've got Alaska setting. I mean, all of them except the voice focus one really sort of highlight the power and pretty good clarity of this Harman Kardon. Now, do I think this is best in class? It's hard to say because, I mean, this car is like 45 grand. You can't really get a Volvo XC60 with the Bowers for anywhere near 45,000. So this is a good sound system. I mean, it doesn't really blow me away. Like, I'm not super tickled by it, but I think it's good enough for the 45 grand. But anyway, let's talk about highway manners before we run out of highway here. We talked about seat comfort, that's good. Elbow comfiness, also good, accentuated by the fact that you can move this armrest forward. Always love to see that sort of variable adjustability in elbow resting place. But it means that both elbows are comfy, and it also means that ergonomically you are set up nice to kind of rest your arms, rest your hands on the steering wheel. All is good. Now, as far as cruise control goes, we've got sort of the full suite of like the pilot assist sort of thing going on here. This will hold the lane. Don't entirely trust it, and it will also make a lane change. Check this out. It's doing that by itself. All of this seems to react pretty nicely. You've got physical buttons to control all of it, as well as your following distance. System's a little nervous there. It sees that there's a semi-truck. He's taking his time to get over, drop in a gear, accelerating. Yeah, so the system, it takes a little bit longer to react than maybe I would like to see, but as far as kind of keeping itself centered in the lane, it's quite all right. And sort of traditional, historically, Volkswagen things, this does not let you just sort of leave the steering wheel to do its own thing for longer than about 5 seconds. It wants you to have those hands on the wheel, but the system's all right. I mean, I would say it's just about average with everything else in the class. Any sort of like, I don't know, Toyota or Honda system, they all sort of behave the same. But anyway, now is the part of the video that some of you have probably been waiting for. This little baby performance loop to see if this is all it's cracked up to be in the horsepower department. Now remember, like we said, this is still a 4,000 pound SUV. It has under 300 horsepower. Things are adequate. This is definitely not a fast vehicle. It's quick, it gets the job done, but you know, it's not blowing my mind. And there's a GTI. Mark 7 GTI, what I think was probably peak. Yeah. Demonstrating why we love DSGs there. Some cool fart noises from him. What I will say is I like the progressive power curve on this retuned EA888. Keeps it revved low, keeps it quiet, all the good stuff. All right, we are going to go into sport mode. There we go, select that. We've got a green arrow on the light. Flick it in. Honestly, for what it is, it's got pretty good front end grip, and I don't hate the steering either. We're gonna leave the gearbox in automatic. I'm going to shoot this way. Gear changes from this 8-speed, not the fastest, but I think there's a bit of self-preservation going on here and smoothness overall. This car definitely does not target fast driving as its #1 priority, but when you need the power, when you need the torque, it's there. It's in your back pocket. You don't have to worry. All right, let's come up on a bit of a hard stop. And let's get this off the line. there is 60 in what is allegedly about 6.8 seconds. So under 7, whereas the regular Tiguan, which only has 201 horsepower, takes over 8 seconds. So you are shaving a pretty impressive amount of seconds and things off of, I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. It's faster than the regular Tiguan, and you can definitely feel it. Especially when you're getting a massage, pushes you into that seat even more to get those deep pressure points. Top tip, put the massage on, do a 0 to 60 to increase intensity. I think for some final thoughts on this, I can confidently say that this is the highest quality and overall nicest Volkswagen product I have driven in a very long time. When I got into this whole YouTube journalist thing, the Mark 8 GTI had just come out, so that was kind of like my first impression of new Volkswagens. And with this new Tiguan, it seems like they've actually listened to people's complaints and people's feedback in general, from owners and journalists alike. Everything in here feels cohesive. It feels well built, well thought out. All right, pray for the groceries. Didn't give me second. We're sticking with third. Wow. A little bit of rotation there from the back end. How about that? Okay. Well, there you go. The Tiguan Turbo can take a corner with confidence. Even these Pirellis do an okay job. They complain a bit. Let's go into eco mode. Now to close things out. Defaults the gearbox back into automatic and actually has a little E on the dash. Instead of a D for drive, you're in E. Take the roundabout briskly in eco mode. It's kind of fun to flick this thing around, honestly. It's a pretty playful chassis. So there you go. There's the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo, or Tiguan Turbo as I've been calling it for short. I like this car. I like their efforts. I think it makes sense, and I think it's finally holding this Tiguan to the higher standard that Volkswagen has been aiming for. I mean, think about like Mazda CX-5 Turbo. Here's a nice new alternative that you can now consider. This just feels like a really nice car because it is one. So let's park this. We'll give you one last look at this avocado green exterior, and that'll be a wrap for the Tiguan Turbo. We'll see how our groceries did as well. I think they actually lived. I didn't hear anything going too crazy. All right, well, thank you guys all so much for watching. If I left anything out, please let me know. Be happy to answer your questions in the comments. I love that the VW badge lights up. How'd we do? Oh, not bad. One of the handles slipped off a bit, but that's okay. All the groceries are in one piece. Good mark for the bag hangers in the 2026 Tiguan. Cool, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.